Hey, what's going on, good people? It's Gardner Douglas, your Oyster Ninja. Welcome back. Welcome back to the Oyster Ninja Podcast. I'm glad you chose to be here with me and my guest today, who is Mr. Alex Troutman. And he has been on the podcast before. Um, we're going to be talking about a topic that hits everybody. We're going to be talking about a topic that, in some way or form, is affecting all Americans, not just federal employees, not just senior citizens with Medicare and Medicaid, not the single parent who is wondering if they'll get those SNAP benefits to help with the next meal, the military soldier who is wondering will they get paid the next payday, or the federal worker who is wondering if they will be on the next chopping block because all they did was come into work and want to do their job. But you got to worry about sending out emails. You got to worry about what did I do this week? Let me get off my pedestal. Our guest today, Mr. Alex Troutman, is a fish and wildlife biologist and environmental educator with a passion for sharing and immersing the younger generation into nature. Alex, whoever wrote this did a great job, by the way. He has a bachelor's of biology and a master's degree with a focus in conservation biology from Georgia Southern University. Alex, what is happening, my brother?
What's good? What's good?
You got it, man. You got it. Was all that information correct? Did Google do their job?
It was, yes, yes.
Okay, good. Just from that brief, very brief introduction, what didn't I say?
But I'm a book author for 16 different field guides for the United States. They are books that are geared toward children's and people new to nature. They're each book has 63 different species in it, and it shares information about the animal, ranging from birds to mammals, reptiles, and amphibians, and also give you a kind of a trivia question, a did you know fact about each animal. And it has a checklist in the back. So when you see these animals in your state, you can mark it off.
That's amazing. When did this happen?
This came out, the first ones were Minnesota and Michigan. They came out in fall of 2023.
And how does that work? Like, how do you? I know this is like not on topic with what we came here for, but how do you? I guess get book sales, and how do you promote that? How do people find out about your books?
Yeah, so my books are found online through my publisher, as well as Amazon. They are in Target and Books a Million, as well as local stores. They also are in some national parks and state parks as well. I was down in Everglades last year, and I just happened to be like, let me see if my book is in here, like thinking it wasn't going to be. And sure enough, like I look, I was like, oh, that's my book. So yeah, I took a photo with it, and it was very surprising. And then later on, a couple other people have sent me pictures of my book in national parks in Colorado, in Georgia as well. So it's been really like exciting and encouraging at the same time. Like just having like your book out there, and like it's kind of funny like going to like some of the national parks that my book is in, and like seeing people like looking at it and then not realize like, oh, like I wrote that book and I'm standing right next to you. So it's pretty cool and humbling at the same time.
You know what? I never thought I had an ego until now. Because if somebody was there looking at my book, hey, look, go and get that book right now, and I'll go in and autograph it for you. Okay, real quick, real quick. No charge.
Right, right.
But man, that's awesome, man. Now, what brings us here today is, well, let's start here. Um, in our last episode, I think we talked about All right. I don't even know if we said it on the podcast or not. I know we definitely talked about it before or after, but you were looking into getting a job. Let's talk about your federal journey. How did you get this federal job with the Park Service? And let's just talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so my federal journey started 10 years ago in 2015. I applied to a job. Well, I applied to hundreds of jobs with the federal service while I was in my undergrad. And I applied, and finally I got interviewed for a job, but it was actually for a position that I didn't apply to. I applied to a higher level position, but that position went to somebody else who had a higher preference than me. So I was interviewed for a biological science aide position instead of biological science technician position up in New Richmond, Wisconsin. So I got the job, and I was working mostly doing habitat manipulation. So working the habitat to increase the biodiversity or make it better for certain animals. And one of the animals that we were really focused on was a small butterfly that's endangered, the Cunner blue butterfly. So I worked that position for about a year. Then I applied to another position working with sea turtles, which I was um, surprised that I actually got that position because I had never worked with sea turtles before. I had just interpreted about them or talked about them while I was working at the Georgia Aquarium, but I never had any physical like research with them. But I got that position mainly because my previous position with the Fish and Wildlife Service was their skills were transferable, and you can teach people how to work with sea turtles, but you can't teach them work ethic. Um, my job was to look for those turtles, as well as look for other species of turtles that may be nesting or may be stranded due to many different reasons. So I spent 2 seasons working with those sea turtles before I took a job as a bat biologist and went to work internationally for a couple of months doing bat research in Malaysia on the island of Borneo, which is broken up into 3 different areas. You have Indonesia, you have Brunei, then you have um, Malaysia part of Borneo. And I was in the Malaysian part. I was in Sabah, Malaysia, and we did bat research looking at the species abundance and biodiversity of bats in a national park there. So I did that for about 2 months, and then I came back and went off to sea to work as an endangered species observer. And I was on a dredging ship that after storms or if a shipping channel is not deep enough, we go out and dredge the area to make it wider and deeper for shipping boats to come in. But my job was actually to monitor these operations when they were digging to see if they were digging up any sea turtles or other endangered species or running into endangered marine mammals. So I was the lookout to say, hey, there's a well here. We have to slow down or stop and let the well pass. Or if we were digging, we got a turtle, I have to see what's the turtle like actually dug up because of our efforts, or was it just happened to be swimming by or actually floating around? It was already dead, and we just happened to dig it up. So I had to work on that boat up to 3 weeks at a time, sometimes way longer, 12 hours a day, but we stayed on the boat 24 hours. We just did it in shifts. So I did that for about 6 months before I actually got into grad school. And during grad school, I did grad school full time, and then I took several internships with the National Park Service and Fish and Wildlife Service as biotechnician. In 2020, I did an internship as a National Park Service biotech at Manassas National Battlefield. So I did that for a couple of months, then went back to grad school and started my research project. looking at what's available for seaside sparrows, a songbird that is endemic to marsh areas. So they live in marsh areas. Well, to be exact, salt marshes along the eastern coast. In Georgia, we have the McGrively seaside sparrow, which is the one I was looking at. So my job was to conduct transects looking for nests and then put a camera on them and see what the parent is feeding the offspring, and then doing a sweep net to see what arthropods or soft body organisms are around the nest that could be fed to the nestling. Graduated in December 2021. And because I had worked those two internships with the federal government, they're called pathways. So I was able to get converted over into a full time permanent position as a fish and wildlife biologist in South Georgia. I was a partners biologist, which means that I worked with partners as well as private landowners to help them either maintain or convert their land into suitable habitats for threatened and endangered species. There's different programs that help landowners either get money or do like a cost share where they pay some and we'll pay the other for them to maintain their habitat, maintain their land as a habitat for a threatened or endangered species. I did that internship before for just about a year before I actually took a fellowship, the Canals Marine Policy Fellowship, which is a prestigious fellowship that you go to DC for a year and you work as either a legislative fellow or executive fellow, and I was an executive fellow. So I was placed with the Fish and Wildlife Service in the Fish and Aquatic Conservation Division. So our main work was working with freshwater fish. We also did submarine fish. So I did that for about a year, and it was during that time that we actually met. In 2024, I started working as an environmental protection specialist with the National Park Service.
Tell me a little bit what you did in that position.
Park. So my job was, again, the environmental protection specialist. So I worked for the park, but also was a liaison for the Georgia Department of Transportation, as well as the other national parks that are in Georgia that had projects that were going to be working with Georgia Department of Transportation. So if GDOT was doing any projects in the park, I had to look at their project and see how or if it would affect the park, lands, or the creek, not the creek, the river. We have the Chattahoochee River, which runs through it. And since it runs through the national park, we have like governor authority over the river when it's in the park. So if someone was building even a bridge over the water of the river, we had to make sure that they were following NEPA and that they was complying with it in order to build the project. So my job is to make sure that they are complying and then like give them like mitigations if they were trying to build something that wasn't going to be the best for the park, the land. So they will have to either add additional stuff onto another part of the park or pay like fees since they're messing up, and like it might be something that like they can't, like they have to do it, so they have to pay fees because of it, or if it's going to affect like visitor use, like if they're looking to build something in the river or do work in the river during like, usually we try to like have them avoid like high use times, but if it's like something they have to do, they'll have to pay a fee or a fine or to mitigate the visitor use experience, and it goes to the National Park Service. And other times it's working with different other parks. It's like if they're building a road that's going through the park, my job is to work with GDOT and the park to make sure that they're also following NEPA as well. And then this is not just for like GDOT, but the park, like even like say if we're going to build like a a bathroom like in the park boundaries, we still have to make sure like we're not disturbing any environmental areas, as well as any cultural central sensitive places. So that has to be surveyed as well. And NEPA has like so many guidelines of like what you can and can't do. And then if it offers, if it affects like plants, wetlands, or animals, like it triggers different NEPA processes. So like the easiest one is like a CE, which is category exclusion. It's like, okay, this is basically like easy, it's routine. Like we don't foresee any major things happening. It's not going to affect any animals. So like that's the easiest one. But others just like if it's only going to affect like some type of plant or animal, you have to do a whole another thing, which is an environmental assessment. And these are usually for like big projects.
I gotta tell you that it sounds like you were doing a very important job. You were looking at water quality. You were making sure that somebody wasn't disturbing an habitat. You were making sure that people wasn't breaking the laws when they were going to build structures and things. So when did this end for you and why?
Was on vacation, and my supervisor said, "Oh, you should be good. I haven't heard anything." And then Tuesday, I um, got back home and logged on my computer because we could still telework from home at that time. And saw an email on Friday, November 14th, that was like basically stated like you're a probationary employee, and due to your performance, you're being terminated. And it was very like maddening and upsetting because like it had two random people I had never met or interacted with that said they evaluated my performance and said that they I basically said I didn't do a good job, which wasn't true because I literally just had a performance evaluation by my supervisor in October or December, and yeah, I had got it fully successful. So then, like, I emailed my supervisor, like, "Hey, did you get this?" And like, they haven't even like CC'd her or anything on any of this, so it was news to her as well. So that was the first time I got terminated. And then for 45 days, like I didn't work and I was fighting it. And so was like other people. And then turns out like what they did was deemed illegal by the courts, and they basically had used the same blanket like system, like wording to fire everybody, all the term employees. So then they brought us back. Well, actually, before that, like we had to sign papers that's like, oh, we agree and all this to get exit. But I wrote a note and it was like you guys, I don't know you guys. Basically saying I don't know you guys. You guys haven't evaluated me in any shape or form. This is the first time you got of hearing you guys. Basically asking them like, can they show which um, evaluation that they performed. Anyways, just to say like, just to make sure like they know that I'm not just signing this and agreeing to it, but this is what I believe is right and what has happened. But anyways, for 45 days, I didn't work. I was looking for other jobs, and then my supervisor called me back and said that like basically like there's an injunction, like we are. They said we are not canceling your termination. What was the correct word? Oh, well, they actually said we are not rehiring you. We're canceling your termination. So basically, like, oh, we didn't fire you, but this goes back. It didn't even happen. Um, so that was the word they used because they couldn't say they terminated us. But so anyway, so they brought me back for another, that was in March, so another like 5 months or so, or maybe in July. So they brought me back into July, and then this time I didn't get terminated. My term wasn't renewed, and it was set because my position no longer aligned with the priorities of the president to keep the park open and accessible for the general public.
What does that mean? That doesn't like what does that mean?
Yeah,
Like the job that you were doing was not
the kicker is that my funding wasn't even coming from the federal government, so there was not any money being saved by letting me go either times. And like my funding was actually coming from GDOT, which is the um, company that I was technically working for. Um, so they paid my salary to the National Park Service, and they had already paid it. So like the government is not getting any extra money by having me gone. So yeah, it's crazy.
okay.
It's it's interesting, but yeah, um,
I'm
and
lost in the sauce. Who's
yeah,
doing your job currently? Is so your job is not being done at all, or your old job is not being done at all.
the I'm pretty sure my supervisor is doing most of it. Well, technically, I mean, I guess since they're off because the shutdown, but the my supervisor and other people in the park are doing it who are permanent staff. But it
Okay.
just compiles more stuff for them to do and slows down projects. Um, but yeah, and NEPA is not a priority, anyways, for this administration. They are looking to fast track NEPA, so like go through, not jump through as many hurdles to get things built or designed. So with less people you working that are working for NEPA, um, the less hoops you have to go through. But they're trying to fast track a lot of things. And then like I'm not even sure, even with like a caveat with the White House like being redone, like I'm not sure if that falls under NEPA or even the National Historic. Um, but there's something that's not right there where like laws have been cut through that are not being followed. And I believe like I have to check and see if the White House is some form of historic building that you have to go through so many different processes in order to change it. Like for us, like if we had a historic building, like just to change like a different type of glass because it's outdated, we would have to go through a whole process and like say why we're changing this and the reason for it. Because otherwise, like in order for it to maintain its historic value, you have to use the same glass or as similar glass as possible without changing like the build or aesthetic. Even with like replacing like brick walls, you have to use the similar construction and like this color bricks and everything, like treating for bugs and termites. There's certain chemicals that you can't use, and you have to go through a process. So it's interesting that they're what already done destroyed the East Wing in less than what 11 months of them coming to office, and within a couple like 2 months or so of them saying they're going to redo the ballroom. Yeah, but that's a tangent that still is. It's just very interesting that somehow that um, went through up the chain of command and was approved, or maybe it wasn't approved without having historic preservationists or someone with NEPA to go through it.
Wow. It's all coming together now, full circle now, because I could see how if nobody's in that position, it could just get surpassed. If somebody is in that position, but they got their own workload to manage, let's just push that through. You know what I mean? Or
Right.
so that's crazy, man. Talk a little bit about um the emotional distress that this has caused you, man. Because I can just imagine from getting an email saying, or from being on vacation where that's your time to relax, take your mind off of work, but you got to concentrate on, well, dang, do I got a job to go back to? This is my day off. Like, what? I just got a rating that said I was doing my job like very well. And now I'm getting an email possibly just saying, look, bro, you ain't got no job to come back to. And then you say you're saying, all right, well, we're not gonna fire you, come on back in. And then a few months later, sorry, we got to let you go. So that up and down, how has that been on you mentally?
Yeah, it's like I said before, like it's definitely maddening. Like to get, I'm just call it, it's terminated twice, like for no reason of your own, like no fault at all. And then for it to be like based on like somebody else thinking like when you have more experience in the federal government than your own leader of the country, and he's coming in and letting all these people go. It's definitely very frustrating. Like I have 2 degrees, and like this has been like my like journey, my dream, like is working in conservation, and to have it just like taken away, not once but twice in less than 6 months. It's very frustrating. And then on top of that, it's a hiring freeze. So you can't find anything else. And I have a direct hire authority still from the fellowship that lasts for 2 years, but I have now 29 days left to use it, and there's a hiring freeze, and I still don't have a job. So it's very frustrating. It's like there's so many words like I want to say, not just about the leader, but the people who voted to put him in office. Like how I don't know, I don't care. How dumb can you be? Like the cat showed you who he was the first time, and then you vote for him again. And so yeah, and so it's really maddening. And then on top of that, like I um I got to pay for a wedding, and in March, while I was terminated, someone hit my car with a trailer and fled the scene, and my car was totaled. So then I lost my car, had to buy a new car. So it's just like, I don't know, like, come on.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I hear how it's affected you and how it made you feel, but how are you dealing with those emotions?
Yeah. I would say it's definitely waves of doing good and ways of like again being frustrated and angry, especially as more and more things are done. But thankfully, like I do have like a good support system in my family, my soon to be wife, as well as friends. And other thing, like I like though I no longer work in the natural resource field, I have nature. I spend a lot of time outside. Nature, it's therapeutic and healing. Like there have been studies done that show like just spending 5 to 10 minutes outside can lower your blood pressure, as well as just hearing the sound of like water and the birds. So I've been spending a lot of time outside. It's nature has is what got me into this field, but it's also what's like saving me and keeping me sane. And like um, I do know, like hopefully I can say this and know that this leader will not be in office forever, and times will eventually change. So like that is like what's keeping me afloat, is knowing like again like how many times we have to say it, like growing up like tough times don't last, and then like I don't know like for me like there's my older aunties always used to say just keep on keeping on baby, so that's what I'm gonna do, like keep on keeping on. Like there's nothing I can do to change what's happening. I can just um, change and understand the way that I'm reacting to it.
Let me ask you, man, because you're so deep into, nature and that is a part of you and your persona, to the public. Um, has this left a bad taste in your mouth as far as like going back to work for the federal government or work in the government or work, for the park services? Do you want to chance it? Are you thinking about, maybe I should do something else? It's more, is anything reliable? Like, what's your next steps?
Yeah, so honestly, it's all of the above. Like, I do have like a bad taste. Like, one like been terminated twice, not of my own fault. And then like can't find another job. But then now it's like, do I want to work in that in this field still, or in the federal government still, with who's in charge, and knowing that there could be another time like they're still trying to do more layoffs. So like I could get another position and get laid off again. So it's like, do I chance it? But it's also is like a lot of the state agencies and nonprofits that are in this field, they don't pay as well as the government, and they don't have as good as benefits, though, even with the government because of this leadership. Though the benefits are changing now as well, but there's so much like ifs ands and buts. Way like, do I go back and there's a chance I get laid off, or do I go and maybe I'm not gonna like what we have to do now in regards to um, nature, or following this leadership like stupid rules. Like so it's really a little bit of so much different emotions, and then like now it's like, do I like this was my chance to come back home. Like I've been working all over the US, and this was like, okay, I finally got a job where I could be home and start settling down. But now that's been ripped away. So it's now like, do I continue to look in a place that's home, or do I look in other parts of the US? Like where do I go? So it's just so much like turmoil. And other thing is like, even with like the government, at least this leadership, like what a lot of stuff I do is working with and engaging communities that are black and brown, and disproportionately um, in the federal government. And with a lot of these new rules, or denouncing DEI or environmental justice, like it's like that's what I'm about. Like, do I want to work for the government that believes a lot of um, pretty much anybody who's not white is less than them?
That's tough, man. That's a tough realization. And yeah, and I feel for you, brother. So what I guess like what type of things have you been doing to stay, I guess, up to date with what's going on in your field? Like, have you picked up odd jobs? Have you volunteered? Um, What have you been doing to, I guess, stay focused and keep hope?
Yeah, so thankfully, I like through this, like I have a lot of great support, and like right now I'm doing, excuse me, helping with junior ranger fishing program, teaching kids and community members how to fish. I've spoken at a lot of different conferences, and I'm leading a workshop next week at an outdoor symposium that is talking about how um, nature is one way that we can bridge like science to the classroom. Not really just science, but pretty much nature and birding is a way to bridge the classroom together. So I'm leading a workshop on that, as well as I'm the ambassador for a nonprofit that um, is getting people of color into the outdoors through hunting. So I'm planning a learner deer hunt event here for December, and just trying to stay not really just relevant in this field, but also those are things that like makes me happy. So it's kind of keeping me uplifted and grounded in a way. And again, like spend a lot of time outside birding, um, and just communicating and hanging out with friends, especially like ones that have a similar background and experience as me. Just make sure like we are okay, and thankfully like I have some avenues to like kind of not really like forget, but put it in the back of my mind. Like big events are coming up. Like my birthday was last month, and then I'm getting married next week. So there's things to like put it off. Any sad emotions, or for me, it's not really sad. It's I don't know, like if I was in a movie, like this probably would be my villain origin story. But but there's things that's helped me not become a villain.
Good, good. I'm glad to hear that. Let me.
uh,
Oh man, what would your villain name be?
I don't even know. I think.
The Trout Monster.
Yeah.
um, you talked a little bit about surrounding yourself with other people who have similar experiences. How are they dealing? Like, I'm sure you maybe talked to some of your coworkers who have been let go or even furloughed since you've been let go. How are they dealing?
Yeah, a lot of them are like they're not doing like that good. A lot of them have like they actually have like multiple mouths to feed with their spouses and kids, and some of them are like again like literally just moved here and bought a house, and they don't have any like support system. Um, any support system, and others like it's the constant dread of like when it's gonna be my turn. It's is there are they pulling funding for me, or am I gonna get riff, or like okay like they pull funding, but thankfully the park had funding that they could allocate from somewhere else to keep me at least for a couple more months. What happens then? So everyone like a lot of people are doing good, but it's still like we're all in the same boat trying to um what is it pail out other people's water from their boat when we're like still sinking ourselves. And thankfully like we do have other people that are helping us pail our own boat while we're trying to pail others boat out. And it's not one person is doing all the lift for the other people. But yeah, it's the network is it's definitely a struggle, um, and then especially like now people like in the military and stuff like they're not getting paid, and even now like we'll see what happens at midnight tonight with Snap, which is a whole nother ordeal because this leader and a lot of his followers think it's a handout, but not realizing that it's a subsidy for USDA, and SNAP actually benefits the communities where people are utilizing it. Yeah, so I think it's like uh, dollar $1.50, something around that range for every dollar of SNAP that is used. That's how much goes back into the local economy. So it's just frustrating that we're all in this and people don't understand. Even like you got our own Congress people calling us lazies and people seeking a handout for federal workers. What's her name? Margie Taylor Greene in Georgia, like said that about federal workers. And it's like, do you not realize you technically are a federal worker too? And honestly, Congress haven't been in session for like what more than 80 days out of the year, and um, we well over the 80-day mark of this year. It's almost 11 months, and you only be in session for 80 days, and you make a six-figure salary. Talking about federal workers um, are lazy and get a handout. You're not doing any work, and you still getting paid. So yeah, so I don't know, Margie Taylor Greene, if you're listening, uh, it's time for you to step down and retire. You don't know what you're talking about.
Okay. Okay. And it's crazy because I was just about to ask you, like, if you had a message direct, like, what would you say? But I also want to ask you, which kind of falls in the same place. What do you um wish the public understood about what's being lost? And not just about you having a job or working for the parts, but just like what do you think the gap? What's not connecting? What are they not seeing?
I don't understand. Like I don't know what they're not seeing. I feel like it's definitely blindness and um, a love for this person. Like I don't understand what's not clicking with everything that's going on. Um, I don't know. Like some people said, like they voted for him for his policy. The policy is trash. Um, so for me, I'm looking at there's so much like form of like our parks that we're losing even before the parks to science. Like there's so many different like research that's no longer going on or it's going to be slow, like cancer research. Uh, like, come on. But other medical research is no longer happening, or the funding has been cut. Keeping Making sure people have clean water and not polluting the riverways is being cut, or those are being rescinded. Um, Trying to open up our public lands to be sold off and or mined. Like there's so much stuff like before you even get to like what's happening in the Parks and Wildlife Refuge that's going to affect the general public. And then when you actually look at the parks and refuges, like you're having longer lines, you're having trash piling up, you having response times for safety issues be extended. And then thankfully, like right now with the government being shut down, there are some volunteers and even some workers who are still like volunteering to go and help make sure the park is at least somewhat acceptable. But with this, we're losing so much, and it's not something like even with like analogy like when you have a leaky like a busted pipe or water main, like that water is just going on and on and on. It's not going anywhere, and then even when it's finally fixed, like it's not immediately like safe to drink. Like you have to like let the water run or boil it for some time before it's safe again. That's what stage we're going to be in. Like after all of this mess, this term of this president is over, like there's going to be so much sanitizing and fixing and boiling of the water, so to speak, that we're going to have to do just to not catch up to where we are, but just to start building the foundation to be able to catch up. And even in this time where we're pretty much our science is going downhill right now, there's other countries that are continuing to do research that are going to be light years ahead of us now, all because one person.
Well, I can definitely hear your emotions through, through this interview, man. I want to thank you for taking time out of your day to talk with the Oyster Ninja podcast, share your story through this journey. Hopefully, the next time we'll talk, we'll have a happier topic to talk about. Um, Meaning you have been married and you're flourishing in that, and you found more new work, maybe wrote a new book. Um, so, just for the listeners who do you have a way to help you donate to you? Do you have a way? I guess I can get your links for your books and include that in the show notes. Any other way we can help and support you because we're all in this together.
Yeah, definitely get my books. I'll share the link, and I do have PayPal and Venmo, and I excuse I do um, presentations and speaking engagements and classroom visits versus virtual and in person. So that's another way to support is book me to speak to your class, your conference workshop. Yeah.
So what's the PayPal, Venmo, and I guess a good email?
Yes. So email is alexk.troutman at gmail.com. And then PayPal and Venmo are nature, NATURE underscore AL. It's the same as my Instagram. And actually, my email, I just updated my email. So it's actually official.natureal. So all one word, nature al, and that's nature with an eight. So NATUREAL at gmail.com. So official.natureal at gmail.com.
Again, thank you so much for your time, man. I hope things get better. Congratulations on the wedding coming up next week. I hope you sell many, many more books. Hope somebody books you for an in-class session, talk, or virtually or in person. And yeah, man, I'll keep you in my thoughts and prayers. And if something comes up on my end, I'll make sure to send it your way.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And as always, it's been good speaking with you.